Hi everyone, this is Sean. Welcome back to my channel. I just got done training. This is the third time I've been gassed in a 6-month period. Hopefully you guys are training out there as well. I try to train every month. Most of my training involves some tactics. Anyhow, in today's video, I want to talk about when you should draw your firearm as a private security officer. When should you draw your firearm as an armed professional? Now, the first thing I want you to keep in mind is your company policy. You have to follow that company policy. If the company policy says you shall never draw your firearm no matter the circumstances, then you're going to have to follow that policy. Second, you have to follow the law in your state. I'm in California. Because I'm in California, my understanding of law tends to gravitate towards California. I know there's some people in Texas and a lot of these other states where the laws are applied a lot more laxed. And a lot of people would say in Texas, this would never happen, or this would happen in Texas. Look, it doesn't matter where you're at. The laws of self-defense are nearly the same. I've had people challenge me and they can't even support their statement. They can't support their statement with a link that shows what the law is in their state. So generally speaking, okay, you can draw your firearm if you believe that your life is in danger or someone else's life is in danger. And when I say danger, I'm talking about that there's an opportunity for you to receive great bodily injury or death. This danger also has to be imminent or immediate, depending on that state. And imminent basically means almost, near, which is almost the same thing as immediate. Different jurisdictions just word their laws of self-defense a lot more differently. So basically, let me try to paraphrase this in maybe a little different way. You should draw your firearm when the circumstances dictate that you can, based on company policy. Make sure that you follow the laws in your state. Basically, you have to believe that your life or someone else's life is in grave danger. When we talk about danger, we're talking about that person's life, okay, or that their person is about to receive great bodily injury or even death. And that hazard, okay, or that opportunity for somebody to do that to you is immediate or it's imminent. Those should be the only circumstances when you should draw a firearm. There's just so many bad circumstances that I see out there on social media where private security draw their firearm. Somebody's opening their mouth, they're mouthing off, and you see an armed security officer drawing the firearm. I've seen that with officers, police officers as well. I just see it more with private security. Now, obviously, private security is less trained than law enforcement officers. Law enforcement officers, including correctional officers, usually have to go through some type of academy training, usually stress-like training between 4 to 6 months, whereas the private security training is only, depending on your state. In our state, it's 40 hours. Some states it might be 60 hours. Some states it might be 8 hours, but the training is significantly less. Okay, I just see the worst circumstances when people draw firearms out there. I mean, if somebody's shoplifting, just shoplifting, and they're not presenting any grave danger to you, why do you feel the need to draw a firearm? It just doesn't make any sense. This is what happens when you draw a firearm. You're kind of sort of committed to that weapon. Yes, you can go to a less lethal alternative. You can go to a baton, pepper spray. You can go to a taser. Okay, but that takes time. It does take time to put your weapon away and then to engage with your less lethal weapon. It takes time. But it's hard for some people to turn down the intensity of the situation. You have your gun out, okay? It's very difficult, and I'll tell you from experience, a lot of experience. It's very difficult to turn down the intensity of situation when your gun is out. It's difficult to turn down the intensity of situation through the sights of your gun, through the red dot system of your pistol. Okay? It is difficult to do. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's a little bit of a challenge for some. Maybe many people have a challenge reducing the intensity of the situation. Now, notice I keep saying reduce the intensity of the situation. I hate to use the word de-escalation because it is ultimately up to the other person to de-escalate the situation, not you. The word de-escalation is a political phrase, so I like to rephrase that and talk about reduce the intensity of the situation instead. Okay, de-escalation is a political term. It's a term that the media has adopted. So that's the first things first, guys. Is make sure that you're allowed legally and through policy to draw your firearm. Now, as for clearing buildings, I've had very intelligent discussions with a lot of people on this channel, with some people who have some impressive credentials and experience. And I'm going to debate this. If you're going to clear a building where there could be a felony crime occurring inside, I believe that you should have your firearm out. You should not enter any type of building, or most buildings, without your firearm out. And I don't even believe that you should have it in the holster and clear buildings. You should have it out. If you feel that that's unnecessary, you should be clearing buildings with your gun holsters because you don't have the lawful authority to do that. If that's your argument and you really strongly believe that, then I wouldn't even clear the building at all. Okay, maybe it's not your job. I'll tell you this, that most private security officers don't have building clearance training or close quarter combat training. Most do not. And the ones that do, okay, their partner probably doesn't have the same level of training that you do. So just because you have that training, that doesn't mean that you should be the one clearing the building. Because your partner that goes inside, if that partner doesn't have the same level or similar training than you, that your partner is basically worthless. Now, what happens if you have 4 partners that clear the building with you and only one is trained? Well, you have 3 worthless partners. And hopefully I don't come off sounding too arrogant, but those partners are useless because they don't know how to effectively clear a building. They don't know how to effectively block their partner. And if you don't know what blocking is or covering, you definitely need to get trained. Okay, blocking is basically a term that we use in special tactical situations to describe you blocking or covering your partner while your partner progresses to a different stage inside of a building. Same thing with you. If you're going to go to a different stage of the building or area of the building, corner, if there's a danger zone that needs to be covered, you might ask for a blocker. That person will provide coverage. Most partners don't know how to supply this. So basically, what you get is a false sense of security. You go in there with 3 of your officers, and you're the only one that's trained, while your 3 officers are providing a false sense of security. They're basically providing meat shield coverage, which means they're going to be taking rounds, okay? Or if they're not providing proper blockage, okay, those rounds are going to go directly to you. So you're going to think that your back is covered or your side is covered, when all reality, it was never covered. Okay? So that's my thought about building searches. I mean, if you're trained, then you should do them. If you believe that there is an asset inside, there's something that's worth protecting, then I think that you should go inside. But most circumstances, I wouldn't even go in there. Now, when I say I mean I would not go in there by myself if I have a trained partner, then I would consider going in there. But keep in mind that SWAT teams, they roll in teams of 14. When they clear their buildings, there's like 14 of them many times. With the full-time SWAT teams, there's 30 operators, 28 operators, sometimes 40 that clear the buildings. And then you want to go in there by yourself or with your partner that has less training than you. And then if you're out there saying, well, I have more training than my partner, well, what training do you have? Have you attended any close quarter combat training, any active shooter training, any specialized entry training? How long ago? Who instructed that course? And how do you maintain your knowledge, skills, and abilities? Is this a course or a lesson that you took or attended to 10 years ago, 20 years ago, last year? I mean, these are all perishable skills. Okay? Articulation is important. If a law enforcement officer asks you, hey, why did you have your gun out when you cleared this building? You should be able to explain yourself. Well, hey, look, my job is to secure the interior of the building. That is my job. I am an agent of the owner. There was signs that there was a burglary in progress. For example, the burglary alarm went off. The alarm trips when there's some type of intrusion. So I went in there with the thought that there might be an intruder. And the reason why I had my gun out is because many of these intruders, these burglars, they come armed and they lie in wait always. Or I'm sorry, they lie in wait sometimes. And you are trying to defend yourself as well. Remember, you're not protecting property, you're protecting your life. Now, if there's somebody that's down the hallway that needs to be protected, while you're drawing your gun to protect yourself and you're drawing your weapon to protect that individual as well, or that client. You have to be able to articulate yourself. Most private security officers cannot articulate themselves. I see a common argument that I see security would make is, hey, the reason why I took my gun out is because that's the way I'm trained. That doesn't help. When you're being trained, you need to ask these questions. Why do we do this? Why do we do that? You need to constantly ask why, because you are going to be the one that has to articulate your response, not the instructor. Okay, not the person who trained you that skill. You have to articulate it. I don't want you guys to be over there and saying, oh, that's the way I was trained. No. You can say, hey, that's the way I was trained, plus this is the reason why I had my gun out. And I'll tell you this, any law enforcement officer that questions that security officer, that really questions that security officer and believes that security officer was in the wrong, you're already in error. Okay, because you as a police officer or law enforcement officer would not go in these buildings. You would not do building searches without your gun out, because that's not the way that you're trained. And you're wondering, hey, Sean, what is your training? How do you know? Well, I went to the police academy. I graduated from the police academy, so I know. That's all I have. I'm looking forward to the dialogue, the discussion. Take care, guys, and please be safe out there.